BigCountryPreps.com. I'm Evan Wren, and this is the Capital Farm Credit Wednesday night podcast, our weekly look at the area athletic scene, what happened last week and what's going on this week. I'm here with my partner, Dan Youngblood, via Zoom. And tonight, Dan, we've got a special guest. We've got Hamlin softball coach Jason Botos, who has done about as good a job as any coach in the area. And he's really built a solid program seemingly overnight.
Yeah, I mean, it really does seem that way because they really struggled last year with a really young group, but they've turned things around and they're off to a great start this year. And what's really one of the tougher 2A districts in the state, when you talk about a district that has the defending state champion, Stamford has his quality teams from Haskell, from Hawley, and then Anson's had some good teams over the past several years as well. So to see what Coach Bodus has done this year with a group that's really junior led has been very impressive. And I know that he's got to be pretty excited about the future of that program because they're going to have a lot of girls there back next year. And they seem to be building a tradition with some of the younger girls coming up through there. So it's been fun to watch. It's one of those things where it's been kind of a tough athletic season for Hamlin this year. They've got some young kids in some spots across the board sports wise. And this has been a real bright spot for them this school year, what this softball team has done.
Before we jump into this week's show, we need to thank our primary sponsor, Capital Farm Credit, with offices all over Texas, including Stamford and Abilene. Buy your own slice of Texas with Capital Farm Credit. Together, we're better. And with that, it's just about time to bring on Coach Jason Botos from Hamlin, who's done just a whale of a job there. He's got one thing that he does that I find very interesting and I like. And you, as a former high school baseball pitcher, will like it. I used to play fast pitch, used to pitch. I like this. He gives his catcher and his pitcher final veto on the pitches that are thrown. Whatever's heading up to the plate is a pitch that the pitcher likes and is comfortable with. And I always thought that that's the way it should be.
Yeah.
I mean, you go ahead and trust the kids. They'll go ahead and throw with what they're comfortable with and let them work with their catcher, and they'll figure it out.
Yeah, I tend to agree. I mean, certainly having pitched in a situation where I didn't have that, I would have loved to have been able to shake off pitches I knew didn't have that day, or I knew I couldn't locate. I remember one game, my senior year, when I was on I was on the mound. I can remember where it was. It was at Euless Trinity. It was in a tournament at Euless Trinity. I can't remember exactly who we were playing, but on two different occasions, I got two strikes, got ahead in the count. And my coach was calling for a high fastball, trying to go, get him above the hands and try to get him, get him to swing and strike out. Both times I couldn't get it high enough. I couldn't get it where I wanted. So I just left it, chest high, and both of them got blasted out to left field. One of them I still hadn't landed yet. But after the first one, I was mad because I was like, that's not, I mean, I can't locate that pitch.
Right.
And then to do it again the second time, I was really mad because obviously, we didn't learn from the first mistake.
Right.
But I do think there is something to be said for allowing, the pitcher and catcher who are working together throughout the game to kind of get a feel for the game, kind of get into a rhythm with each other, because both of them they have the best view of anybody. They know what's working. They know what a pitcher can do, what he can't locate, and those sorts of things. So I remember there were several times that season where it was kind of frustrating. And part of it, I've got to execute the pitch. So I understand that part. Ultimately, you've got to execute the pitch. But at the same time, the coach's job, in my opinion, is to put their players in the best position to succeed. So you don't want to ask them to do things they're not necessarily comfortable with. And yeah, I love what Coach Bodus does. I think as a player, that would definitely be my preference.
Absolutely. I cannot imagine throwing a pitch that I didn't want to throw. Because then as far as I'm concerned, if you're throwing a pitch that you don't want to throw, your attention's divided. You're already thinking, I don't want to throw this. I don't want to throw this. And it's, your attention's divided. You want to have 100% confidence in what you're throwing.
And I think that really highlights the whole thing. It's all about confidence. I mean, there are pitches as a pitcher, there are pitches that you feel more confident in than others. I mean, if you've got a really good curveball that you feel, especially on a given day, because on a given day, certain pitches are working, certain pitches aren't. And obviously you have those conversations between innings with your coach, but there are times where it takes an inning giving up 6 runs and 2 3-run home runs before that. And by then the game is over. So
you're too mad to pitch anymore after that.
Yeah. Anyway. At that point you're playing outfield because you've already been yanked from the game anyway. But yeah, it's one of those deals where I like I like it. Doesn't happen very often anymore. Honestly, most coaches are calling pitches, and most pitchers don't have the authority to shake those off. And it is what it is. I understand coaches sometimes don't. There may be good reasons for not trusting certain players in certain situations. But all I know is I do agree with you. If you don't have a confidence in a certain pitch, and you do have confidence in others, you're like, I can get this guy with a curveball, but he wants me to throw a high fastball. It is going to be, you're right. You go into that pitch saying, gosh, I hope I don't groove this. And then that oftentimes manifests itself and that happens. So,
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I was so hyper competitive at that age. I don't know that I could have handled not having the veto.
yeah.
I don't know that I could have handled it. I was just so hyper competitive. So I like what Coach Bodus is doing. I agree with that philosophy. If I were running a team, I would do the same thing. I would, if I disagreed with the calls that were going on, I might, pull them aside and talk about it. I think you need to work this guy inside or outside or whatever. I don't think you should the rise ball in this situation, whatever. But as far as the final veto, the pitcher would have it. I agree with that.
Yeah, I think that's the key to the success of any of that is that you're putting those. I mean, you're having those conversations so you are having your input. It's just not direct input in the middle of the game. Like you are calling the side, say, look, we threw this pitch here. Maybe it'd been better to do this. And then next time the catcher realizes that and learns how to, better call a game. But I think that's the real benefit of that is at the end of the day, both the pitcher and catcher get a better idea for pitch sequences and those sorts of things. And you grow over the course of a season. And frankly, you become better baseball or softball player that way. I mean, you learn the game better. And I think that's probably a part of the reason that Coach Bodus does it that way. And I understand again why some coaches don't, but I'm just bitter. After I'm telling you that the second home run I gave up at Euless Trinity's Field, they've got a high left field wall because there's neighborhoods behind it. There's so that the wall, street, house. I guarantee you it landed in the second yard. I guarantee you the second home run landed in the second yard. It had to have been 450 feet.
Well, having never give up any home runs in my pitching career, I wouldn't know how you felt. But actually, was there a worse feeling in the world when you've given up a jack, and it's gone, and you're just like going to the umpire, just getting to the getting the other ball before it's even out of the park. There's not a worse feeling in the world than that.
That's what's funny is I never hit a home run until I got to high school. And then at that point, you're going to face hitters who are like, it is what it is, particularly at the, in the Metroplex 6A level, you're going to face hitters who are really dang good. And that's just an inevitability. But I would have preferred not to give up 2 in the same game or same inning or whatever it was. I did not last long that game. I was in the outfield by the second inning. So it was not much fun.
One other thing about Coach Bodus and the job that he's done, a few years back, it wasn't long ago that Hamlin really was, really struggling in softball. That was one of the few sports that Hamlin was struggling in. Overnight, it's all of a sudden because of the youth and numbers. Now it's the program that is not rebuilding. A lot of the programs at that school are in a rebuilding mode, and that happens. But now softball suddenly has become probably the most successful program that Hamlin had in this school year. It's like a total reversal.
Yeah, and that's one thing we've talked about a lot. And one of my favorite parts about covering high school football, and the same way with college, because you have those cycles where you have classes that kind of lead you, and then sometimes you fall off. But one of my favorite things is seeing these classes grow together. When you've got kids that are starting as freshmen and sophomores, and then you see them as juniors and seniors, and they're a completely different team just because of the growth they've made. And that's what we've seen with this Hamlin team. And that's what's so cool. And that's why I think these programs almost universally should have a lot of patience with these coaches, because ultimately when you get a class like this, you just have to get patience, because they're going to get better as they grow and mature. And that's what we're seeing right now. I mean, it's been really impressive to watch, just because there probably weren't a whole lot of people outside of that Hamlin program that probably predicted this turnaround. But I know the folks in that program knew something like this was coming, and that's also pretty neat. Is they get to kind of everyone else kind of is just now coming to find what they've kind of expected all along.
Well, the nucleus of that team is mostly juniors. It's a young team, and there's just that sudden influx of talent. These girls have been playing summer ball. for a while that are accustomed to being successful at that, in ASA ball, have given them a shot in the arm. And Coach Bodus has changed the culture as well. They've got pitching, and you've got to have that. And so it's like overnight, boom.
And I also think that speaks to something we've talked about a lot the last probably 3 or 4 years in particular, is just the really the improved level of play area wide. You look at the level of high school softball play right now in the Big Country. I don't think it's ever been better on the whole than it is now. And in any of the time, I've been here almost 15 years now. I can't remember a time where you have, this many programs at this many different levels that are this competitive. And you look at some of the young players that are coming up, it's really remarkable how many of these girls that are coming up are freshmen, sophomore, juniors that are leading their teams. Merkel's one that comes to mind. They've a really young team that had a big turnaround last year and is continuing that this year. Stanford, obviously, with doing everything they've done, and you've seen it at the big school level too, where you've got Abilene High, Cooper, and Wiley all have made deep runs in the last 3 or 4 years. So
yes, we've seen the programs at Sweetwater and Big Spring at the Class 4A level take a nice step up. That's true, absolutely. Brownwood, Cheyenne graduated, so Brownwood's kind of in rebuilding mode right now. But even that program in the last 5 years or so has really taken a step up. And I mean, it wasn't, a decade ago, there were seasons there where you could take a look and think, you know what, the Big Country has no shot softball wise of getting in this class or that class, no class or no chance, I should say, of getting to a regional or winning a regional. That's not the case anymore, really. Or it would be like one team, like you'd have Kahoma that was really good because they have a really good pitcher, but they would be kind of your only hope. Now you've got 5 or 6, 7, 8 teams at all levels with a chance to make it to a regional tournament regional final. So it's a lot of fun. It's been fun, and it's fun also talking to the coaches who I know have enjoyed this resurgence, just seeing the influence of their sports kind of grow in this area, and it's making a difference. It's been a lot of fun to watch. Well, I think another area, especially locally, Abilene and the 5A, 6A levels. A decade ago, would we have been talking, about the potential of Cooper to make a deep run or Abilene to make a deep run, or like last season, those were really quality ball clubs.
All 3 of them made it, to the 3rd round at least. And Cooper made it to the region semifinals.
Well, Wiley's been solid for a while, but at the 5A, 6A level with Cooper and Abilene, it wasn't the case.
Yeah, and Wiley had to make that jump too from 4A to 5A to get there, and it took probably a year or 2 to make that transition. But you're right. I mean, you look at the talent level on these teams. Some of the kids that they're putting through these programs, a lot of them are going on to play college ball, and I think it does start with that really that off-season emphasis where it is kind of year-round play for some of these girls going to play in their summer leagues, going to play in their travel teams, and that makes a difference. Obviously, it's really gotten to a point where we're seeing a lot of really good softball being played throughout the area at all levels.
All right, and with that, it's just about time to bring on Coach Jason Botos of Hamlin. But before we do that, we want to thank our sponsors. We want to thank Capital Farm Credit, obviously, who brings you these Wednesday night podcasts throughout the school year. Also, for the Love of the Game broadcasting, and our old friend Terry Slavens, owner of K-Lakes 93.5 FM out of Breckenridge, KHEX 97.7 FM out of Eastland, Classic Country AM 1330 out of Graham, KWKQ 94.7 FM out of Graham, KROO 1430 AM out of Breck, and KWBY 98.5 FM out of Ranger. That is for the Love of the Game broadcasting. Also, Rob Durham, sales consultant up at Bayer Chevrolet Buick Cadillac in Breckenridge. If you're in the market for a new vehicle or used vehicle, give Rob a shout. He's one of the nicest guys you'll ever want to meet. Call him at 254-559-2266. That's Rob Durham up at Bayer Chevrolet Buick Cadillac in Breckenridge. And finally, Phil Hill of the Abilene Realtors Group, big supporter of local athletics. If you're in the market, give him a shout at 325-669-5153 or visit his website at philhillproperties.com. All right, and with that, it is just about time to bring on Coach Bodus, who I have met. I went to their ball game out at Haskell the other day, and he is a guy that is clearly a very enthusiastic type guy, and it shows on the field. We're seeing that the results of his teaching on the field at Hamlin. It's a team that's having fun, and it's like I said, it was like we just said a minute ago. It's just like overnight, boom.
Yeah, I mean, it's really tremendous, especially considering when you think about it, I mean, he took over that program, right in the middle of a historic season with COVID, where he doesn't get to work with his team, I'm sure, as much as he would like to. Then you have the tough season in year two, to bounce right back and have the type of year they're having now. Very impressive, obviously. But you touched on it, I think, is something that's worth talking about. Not only the enthusiasm, but just the teaching. I think clearly this program is full of girls who have become students of the game, who have really matured. And like I said, that's always one of my favorite things about high school athletics, when you get to see those teams grow together. And Hamlin's probably a perfect example of that right now.
And joining us now, Hamlin softball coach Jason Botos. Coach, thank you so much for joining us.
Hey, thank you for having me on. This is a great honor.
Coach, you're off to a great start this year. It's been a big turnaround in Hamlin for softball. Tell us about the keys to bringing about this turnaround.
Well, there's a couple. Number one is continuity and consistency with the coaching staff. Coach Pop and myself have been here for 3 years, and I think prior to us, they've had 3 or 4 coaches come, in each year. And so the girls understand the expectations and the standards we set, and we hold them pretty high. I've got a really young team. I'm really junior heavy. I've got 4 or 5 core players that play travel ball, and they get after it, year round. Just like most small schools, they're also involved in ag and every sport that we offer here. But softball is definitely their love in this group of kids. You can see the commitment level that they got on their own. They go get lessons. They play whenever they can in the fall, and it's made a big difference. It's made a big difference having a core of 5 or 6 kids that get after it.
And Evan mentioned the turnaround, and obviously it's been a significant one. I guess at what point did you kind of feel like you had the opportunity to have this type of season? At what point did you kind of see it in the girls?
When I first took the job, Russell Lucas was the AD, and he told me coming in that I've got a group of 8th graders that are going to be freshmen that were softball kids. That was their drive, and he said they could be something special. And he was right. Watching them their freshman year, before COVID hit, and then last year, I think the parents and the community expectation was pretty high because they'd had success at the younger levels, the 12U, 13U. And I kept telling the kids, I'm like, hey, trust the process. You guys are young girls used to playing 13U and 14U, and you're playing against women that are 18 years old, and it's a different speed. And I think last year was an eye-opening for them. But I knew that we had a crew of girls that could get after it a little bit, and they just needed time to mature and trust what we were trying to coach to them and preach to them, on a daily basis. And it's coming to fruition now, and so we've been excited for it, and the community has, and no doubt the parents and kids knew that they could play a little bit.
Well, Coach, you had a culture change to bring about as well, because you did have some players that were coming back when you took over that weren't accustomed to success. I mean, you had to instill some sort of confidence there. How'd you go about doing that?
Well, I think belief in the program and what we were selling as a coaching staff had a lot to do with that. I think kids, just being in this profession as a coach, I think if you will set expectations and standards, most kids, in high school will want to try to reach those expectations, and they'll do whatever it takes. And, when I came in, their goal and the expectations of the kids was to be a deep round contender and possibly play for it. Now, we were 1A when I first came in, and, we moved up with the last realignment, and it was a culture shock for them a little bit to understand that the level of play changes with each level of the UIL alignment. And, last year was a big eye opener for them. And I think they've stepped up to the plate, per se, this year, to understand that we've got to play a different type of ball if we want to get to that level.
Coach, COVID could not have hit at a worse time for you. I'm thinking you want to come in there and establish a program and set the building blocks, set the foundation, and all of a sudden you don't even have a season. How did you overcome that?
It was crazy because our pitcher, Zoe Moore, was a freshman at the time, and she's a pretty good little pitcher, especially in a community like this. And, she got hurt during pitching lessons and in the weight room, so she didn't even get a chance to play. But what COVID did was it allowed other players to pitch and play positions that they normally weren't accustomed to playing. And I think that's made us more well-rounded because they get to see the game from a different vantage point. You know, they might have been outfielders at one time and I had to put them at the infield, or like Emily Donovan was an infielder outfielder for her travel ball, but she's behind the dish for me. And, you know, a lot of people say that the COVID hurt them. I think it actually helped us because it just gave our girls an opportunity to do some things that they weren't accustomed to doing. And it's made us a better ball club.
And Coach, every athletic program has cycles in terms of talent. I mean, kind of ebbs and flows. And at Hamlin right now, you get several programs kind of in a rebuilding phase with some young kids kind of trying it. So there's been a kind of a tough athletic season for Hamlin this school year. Just with that being the case, how have people kind of gravitated around your program and the success it's had?
You know, in any time you have a big turnover in the coaching ranks, and we lost 2 big classes of boys and girls athletes, you know, state champions and playing for the state championship in football and basketball going deep, and to lose 2 grades worth of great athletes, you know, that's always a kick in the side per se. But the girls athletic program has really been pretty consistent per se. But our junior class is the heartbeat of Hamlin. You know, we got more junior girls than any other class right now, or since I've been in school, and they're competitors. You know, I mean, their parents have raised them correctly, and they raised them right to compete and do what they want to do. And you know, they're the true leaders. You know, the biggest thing for us as the coaching staff on the girls' side is to teach them how to become leaders. You know, and I think there's 2 or 3 of them that are really taking that role on. And it's been consistent on the girls' side, and that's why you're seeing us have some success, because those girls are also out there on the diamond with us.
And that actually leads me right into the next question, which was about kind of leadership, because you mentioned it. You have the 1 senior. It's really that junior class. It's kind of the core group. What have you seen just in terms of that group kind of growing into those roles, knowing that they are now the leaders of the program?
You know, I think they become more vocal. You know, I think they always led by example and let their play, you know, speak for themselves. But, you know, Samantha Gonzalez is our junior and shortstop, and Emily Donovan is our catcher. And both of those 2 are very, very vocal. Zoe's in the circle, and she does it by example. You know, she does a good job for us. But Emily and Sam have really taken on, not just in softball, but in basketball and in track and in the hallways, in the classroom. You can see those 2 women, young ladies, really take that leadership when it comes to talking to coaches or administration or making team decisions. You know, they bought into it, and they understand that someone's got to have that role. And I've got 3 or 4 girls that really love that ownership, and they're doing a good job of it.
And you mentioned your battery with Emily and with Zoe. I mean, that's something that's kind of a good place to start when you've got a strong pitcher, strong catcher, and like you said, shortstop up the middle. So you're pretty well set there. I'm just how nice is that as a coach to kind of have those 2 help them lead the way?
You know, it's been real good. I think, you know, we definitely had some learning lessons and growing between me as a coach, coming from a bigger school at the 4A level down at Bandera to a smaller school, and the expectations I had of my catcher, I caught in high school and in college. And that was a new position for her at this type of competitive level. And Zoe at the time, you know, as a youth pitcher, she was really, really, really good. But, you know, at our level of play and the teams that we're playing, there were some things that she needed to work on. And I think last year was a big eye opener for her. But if those 2 guys are on the same page and they can control our defense, and both of them are, you know, right in the middle of our lineup. You know, Emily leads off for us, and she's a threat, but Zoe's been the 3 or 4 hitter for us. She's got a great eye, and girls look up to them because they understand they put in the time and the effort to be really good at this sport. And when you have that type of commitment, other people will follow. You know, and the rest of our team all understand roles. We talk about roles on our team in the dugout, on the bus, wherever it is, and they've all bought into their roles this year. And we've got leaders. You got the bell cows out, you know, and they're pulling the rest of the herd with them. And man, it's fun to watch them. It's fun to watch them to get after it a little bit.
Coach, you're talking to 2 former pitchers. Dan pitched high school baseball. I pitched men's fast pitch softball. And there's a part of your philosophy that both Dan and I appreciate. You give the final veto on what pitch is going to be thrown to the pitcher. And
Oh, yeah.
you don't control that. You let them have that leeway, which I think is really cool because and Dan can attest, when you're out there on that bump, you want to throw what you're comfortable with. Can you talk a little bit about why you do this?
Well, I think you hit on it. As a catcher in high school, and then I went to college and caught. There's some things that the pitcher and catcher can see that coaches in the dugout might not. And I remember just being a player, like, man, that slider right there would work good, but we're calling fastball inside, and it just, I always never second guess, I guess. But as I reflected on the game as a player, I was like, man, I think that we could have done some things different. And so it's always been my philosophy. I was a head baseball coach for 8 years before getting into softball. And I have never, well, I can't say never. I call pitches, but very rarely, because I want to grow the catcher and the pitcher into being students of the game. And if all they're doing is regurgitating what I'm calling, then I don't know if they've got 100%, faith in what I'm calling, because I'm not the one out there pitching. And I want them to learn the game. We talk, Zoe and I, and the infielders specifically, we talk a lot about what is going to go into the game plan, how we're going to pitch batters, and why we're doing things, depending on the weather, wind, whatever, especially this year. But I want Zoe and Emily and all the girls in particular to understand the game within the game, because one day they're going to be mothers and they're going to be little league coaches, and some of them are going to be high school coaches, or college coaches, or whatever their dreams may be. And I want them to have the opportunity to understand the game and not just be a robot of the game. And I might take lumps for that, and I know that that's not the norm, but I'm also a big guy in the rhythm of the game. And if my pitcher and catcher's on point and it's going, it's keeping my outfielders, alive, in tune to the game. In today's society, or in today's games, not just softball but baseball, when the coach is calling it from the dugout, sometimes it just slows the rhythm of the game down, and you can get out of that. And I want our pitchers in the circle on the rubber. Let's go to work and get them on and get them out before they got control of that. I think that's a big part of our success.
And Coach, we've talked about this a little bit already, but you talk about the young team and kind of the foundation that's been built, last year into this year and moving forward. You've got to be excited just looking forward, knowing that there's some things that are going to change within the landscape of softball in our area that I think will probably make things, probably open some things up going forward. And obviously a lot of these girls are back next year. Just what is the future of this program look like?
Definitely excited as a coach, knowing that I've got a huge portion. The entire teams. I got 17 girls total in the program right now, and 16 of those are coming back next year. And we've got a really big crew of 8th graders that love the game of softball, and they're athletic and they play everything. But this community has really bought in. Our school's done a great job. We share the field with the community. So it's a little league and high school field, and our high school and Dr. Burks has put a lot of money and invested time to get our field to look like it should, and given, what these kids deserve. We got brand new dirt, we've got new backstops, dugouts, fencing, and when kids drive by and watch our high school players get after it, man, they want to be that, and I think that has a big part of it. The old, if you build it, they will come. It's coming here in Hamlin, and it's going to be a fun ride for a few years, as I foresee it anyway.
Coach, talk about your district. It's no easy road through that bunch. Haskell's a quality team. Holly's a quality team. You don't want to take Anson lightly. And then you're in there with the state champs, Stanford. I'm thinking it's going to get you ready for a postseason run.
It definitely could. There's no doubt in anybody's mind that Stanford is by far the favorite in our district. And when you have someone as special as Sit Lally in that circle, at any level, they're going to be tough to compete with, but like you said, everybody else is pretty even keel. We played at Anson last week, and it was 9-4 as a game. We stranded 8 runners on base. They do a good job. Coach Chop over there does a great job with the small ball, and And, I think every team in our district has something to bring to the table, and it's going to be a close district run. No doubt that I think Stanford's going to walk with it within our district. And anytime we get a chance to see Citlali, in the circle, it's definitely got to give us an upper hand, if we get into the playoffs this year and go a couple rounds deep, because it's tough to say that she's not the best pitcher in 2A, if not the state of Texas right now.
Yeah, in any classification.
Yes.
Well, Coach, thank you very much for joining us. We appreciate it, and we will definitely be keeping an eye on you the rest of the way.
Awesome. I appreciate the time, guys. It's an honor to be out here and promoting the Hamlin Lady Piper softball, no doubt.
All righty, Coach. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
And that was Hamlin head softball coach Jason Botos, and I'm looking forward to seeing what they do in postseason. I think that this district is going to get them ready for a run. Obviously, the overall favorite, the odds-on favorite for the region is going to be the state champion Stanford Lady Bulldogs. But Hamlin looks like it's ready to do some damage in postseason play.
Yeah, I agree. I think that they're clearly playing at a high level right now. One thing that I'm interested to see with as many juniors as they have back, and I kind of alluded to this in the conversation we just had with Coach Bodus, is that when Citlali Gutierrez graduates this year from Stanford, it's going to open up some things in this area and in this region.
Yes.
And Hamlin looks like a team that can kind of really slide into that lane and become one of the real favorites out of this area and region next year. So it's a pretty exciting time with Hamlin. I think whatever they do this year, I'm excited to see how far they can go. But I think next year's really the one that could be a special one for them.
All right. And with that, it's just about time to wrap up the Capital Farm Credit Wednesday night podcast. But before we do that, we want to remind you that we've got 3 separate subscription packages here at bigcountrypreps.com. We've got a monthly for $5 a month. We've got a semi-annual 6-month subscription where we knock that price down to $4 a month. And we've got a yearly annual subscription where we knock that price down to $3 a month, $36 for a full year of Big Country High School athletic coverage.
We'd also like to remind you that if you ever see a photo you like in any one of our galleries, those are available for purchase. You can purchase a digital download for just $7. And we also have some keepsakes and prints available. So make sure you check those out. As you scroll through the site, you'll notice pretty quickly that we take a lot of photos from these games that we're at. It's something we really do enjoy doing and something we're very proud of here at bigcountrypreps.com.
All Big Country, all high school, all the time. Welcome home.